spirits which drag fishermen to the depths, creatures terrorizing people on the shores, the Mexican Nessie. These are 5 ocean spirits that are widely feared by fishermen. Number 5. Vodyanoi. Just as people who work in the field have their own myths, sailors also have theirs. In Slavic mythology, the Vodyanoi, which literally means aquatic, is a water spirit with a particular appearance. According to them, this creature appears as a naked old man with a frog-like face. He has a greenish beard, long hair, webbed paws, a fish tail, a body covered in black scales, and finally, fire-colored eyes. Truth be told, it doesn't look very nice. Local people often call him the grandfather or the ancestor because of his peculiar physical appearance. It usually rides along the rivers on a half-sunken log and splashing hard, which is what many of the drownings that occur in the areas are attributed to. That is why it is not convenient to anger the Vodyanoi, since when it's in a bad mood, it breaks dams, destroys water mills, and what is worse, it drowns people and animals. But there is even more. According to a legend, they also drag people to their underwater dwelling to serve him as slaves. For this reason, fishermen, millers, and also bookkeepers make sacrifices in order to satisfy the Vodyanoi. Creepy, don't you think? On the other hand, Czech, Slovenian, and Slavic folklore describe Vodyanoi in a totally different way from that described in Eastern Slavic folklore. This time it is known as Vodnik. It has a completely human appearance and habits, except that the Vodnik has gills, membranes on their fingers, its skin is water green, as well as pale green hair. Unlike the Vodyanoi, this creature usually wears patched shirts and rather odd hats. He looks like a real bum. Furthermore, in Czech, Slavic, and Slovenian legends, these creatures live in ponds and rivers. The Czechs, Slovenes, and Slavics have both bad stories and good stories about this curious monster. Some say that Vodnik drowns people who pass through its territory and stores their souls in porcelain teapots. They consider the number of these pots as representative of their wealth and/or status among other Vodnik. Number 4. Alwayssold. Mayas, Aztecs, and Toltecs spoke of beings with animal appearances whose main purpose was to kill people, many times in the wildest ways you can imagine. Let's travel back in time and meet the Alwayssold, a legendary creature from Aztec mythology. The only description that is known about this animal was made by the reporters of Fray Bernardino de Sahagún and says thus: small like a dog. It has small, pointed ears, just like a small dog. It is black, like rubber, smooth, slippery, very smooth, long-tailed, and its tail is provided with a hand at the end. Just like a human hand is the point of its tail, and its hands are like a raccoon's hands or like a monkey's hands. Legend tells that, with the hand at the end of his tail, he caught people who walked near ponds and rivers and drowned them. In addition, it is said that the Alwayssold attracted these people by emitting a cry similar to a human baby's wail. This creature's attack is believed to have been organized by the rain gods, that is, gods who had previously chosen their victims to have their souls taken to paradise. The bodies, which could only be touched by the priest due to the god's interest in their souls, appeared 3 days later without eyes, nails, or teeth. As a curious fact, the American television series My Little Pony represented him in one of the episodes as a fearsome villain. Number 3. The Lady of the Humber. Much ghostly phenomena witnessed by fishermen congregate around lakes or other bodies of water that appear to be haunted. One such place is a tidal estuary located along northern England's coast called the Humber. According to the site British Paranormal, since at least World War II, there have been sightings of a spectral young woman with long hair and dressed in formal military attire who prowls these waters, lurking under the gray waves and foam. The ghost is called the Lady of the Humber and is said to appear as a floating submerged apparition, gliding gracefully through the water face up and with her eyes wide open and her mane of hair lazily floating about her pale face. The Lady of the Humber is most often sighted by fishermen in the area, who often describe being startled to see the ghostly form of this young woman and often think she is a drowning victim. Yet when they go to try to pull her from the water, she vanishes right before their eyes, not sinking away into the gloom below or being pulled out by a current, but literally blinking out of existence. The detail of the military uniform she is said to be dressed in is a curious detail, as the region was the scene of some fierce fighting during the Second World War, and even before that there were fatalities in the area, such as the tragic crash of British airship R-38, which plummeted into the estuary to kill 44 of the 49 crew on August 23, 1921. Is this ghostly woman one of the many dead this area has claimed, eternally roaming the waters here looking for something we will never understand? Whatever the case may be, it certainly gives one something to look out for if you are ever fishing in the Humber. Number 2. Kappa. Going back to strange creatures, our number 2 is for the kappa, a well-known monster of Japanese folklore. It is a demon that lives in water and that, according to Japanese legends, lives in the rivers and ponds of Japan. Zionists consider this monster as a Suijin, that is, a god of the water. However, in Buddhism, the kappa are considered as an ogre. Its origin is a little bit uncertain. On the one hand, it is said that it could come from the Japanese giant salamander, a salamander that hunts its prey using its powerful jaws. On the other hand, different theories suggest that it could be the now extinct Japanese river otter, known to stand on its 2 legs, which may have caused confusion. There are also theories that ensure that poor families who could not care for their babies threw them into the river to drown them. In this way, other families told their children the story of the kappa to discourage them from going to the rivers where these babies could be found. Regarding their appearance, the kappa is said to be roughly humanoid in form and about the size of a child. Some illustrations show him as a monkey with a beak and a turtle shell. However, in most illustrations, they are reptilian in appearance. The most characteristic thing about these creatures is that they have a cavity on its head called a sara, dish, bowl, or plate, that retains water or some sort of liquid, which is regarded as the source of the kappa's power or life force. If it dries, the kappa dies, unless he returns to the water again. Legend says that one way to kill them is bowing, since these monsters are so polite that they would return the salute, which would lead them to bow their heads and drain the water from their heads. Despite everything, they are also described as mischievous beings who spied on women while swimming. Then they stole their clothes. In other cases, they are described as intelligent beings who understood about medicine and agriculture, and who asked for cucumbers as a gift in exchange for their services. Today, the kappa are not as feared as before, although it is possible to find some statuettes of them near rivers and ponds, warning children not to get too close to the water's edge. Number 1. Chan Mexicano, the Mexican Chan. To finish our top 5 on ocean creatures, we must travel hundreds and hundreds of years ago to learn about the history of the Mexican Chan, a spirit or demon that lived in the water and that frightened anyone who approached it. And the legends of Mexican and Aztec folklore are numerous, but none compares to that of this monster. It is nothing but the closest relative to the famous monster of Loch Ness in Scotland. Around this creature, numerous legends have been woven, so the definitions about its physical appearance are quite varied. Some describe it as a whale-like monster, long and wide. Others, something similar to a person covered in hair. Some testimonies assure that this creature lives in the valley of the Siete Luminarias, Mexico, and that it prowls in the crater of the Talacua volcano. But the most striking thing about this animal is that its territory cannot be reduced only to this crater, but that an extensive network of underwater channels has been discovered that would indicate that it is not the only existing specimen. This could explain the sightings that occurred in the gutter known as El Tahoe and in the San Pedro River. A story tells that the problem of water scarcity and disappearances related to Chan intensified, and it was said that Chan did not eat them for no reason. It was believed that it only punished those who did wrong in the waters, those who polluted the water, and those who sacrificed animals. In the end, it was a priest who decided to fight off the demon. He prayed the Hail Mary and the Magnificat and threw holy water into the Tahoe gutter to try to break the spell. In doing so, a supernatural electrical storm exploded as if the earth itself complained about the act committed. But the priest continued, and the fruits of his labor were seen over time. The water began to dry up until one day the Tagus and the underground spring dried up. Here, the legend becomes more mysterious. as it is said that a group of young people found the Chan's lifeless body covered in mud and surrounded by dead plants. If there is something beautiful in history, it is the many legends about beings that could possibly exist all over the world. Some more terrifying than others, but all characterized by the same thing: mystery. If you want to know more stories, such as the case of some confrontations between aliens and soldiers, here you have the video.